20 is not a deadline. Nothing expires at 20. No door closes. No window locks. No opportunity permanently disappears because you arrived at it 20 years into your life, rather than 19. The list that follows is not a verdict on the years already passed. It is a map of the foundation. What the years before 20 are designed to produce, not by external requirement, not by anyone's authority, but by the simple arithmetic of what builds most efficiently when it is built young and what costs most when it is built later. The items on this list are not urgent because 20 is important. They are urgent because the compounding return on each of them is highest when they are started earliest, and the earlier the foundation is built, the more weight the decades after it can carry without cracking. Bruce Wayne built the foundation of everything before anyone knew who he was building it for. The years before the cape were not wasted waiting. They were the years that made every subsequent year possible, not because of what they produced visibly, because of what they installed invisibly. What should already be installed by 20? Here's the honest list. What should already be built? The first thing, a relationship with physical effort. Not a specific sport or training program, the direct, embodied experience of showing up to something physically demanding, consistently, over a period long enough to feel the adaptation. The body that has been trained before 20 carries the knowledge of what consistent effort produces in a way that no amount of reading about discipline can replicate. The physical practice is not about the body. It is about the proof, the personal, non-transferable, direct evidence that effort over time changes what is possible. That proof built before 20 runs through every subsequent challenge as the foundational reference point for what the body and mind can do when they are asked consistently. The second thing, the habit of reading beyond what is required. Not curriculum reading, chosen reading. Books selected because they challenge the current level of understanding or expand the current horizon of what is considered possible or relevant. The cognitive capacity built through sustained engagement with complex written argument before 20 is the capacity that differentiates the quality of thinking available at 30. The man who read seriously before 20 thinks differently at 30 than the man who didn't. Not because the books produced the thinking, but because the practice of following complex argument across extended time built the neural architecture that the thinking runs on. The third thing, a track record of kept promises to yourself. Small ones, the alarm honored, the commitment held past the point it became uncomfortable. The plan followed through, rather than abandoned, when the initial energy dissipated. The track record is not visible to anyone else. It does not appear on any profile or transcript. What it produces is self-trust. The specific, experiential confidence that when you make a commitment to yourself, you are someone who honors it. Self-trust built before 20 is the foundation that every subsequent commitment stands on. The man who arrives at 25 with a 4-year track record of kept promises makes different decisions than the man who arrives with 4 years of broken ones. Stay with this. The fourth, fifth, and sixth things are the ones most likely to be absent by 20. Not because they are difficult to build, but because nobody named them as worth building before the years that would have built them ran out. The fourth thing, basic financial literacy, not investment sophistication, literacy. The ability to calculate net worth, understand the difference between an asset and a liability, know what compound interest does for money invested and against money borrowed, and track where money goes across a month. The man who arrives at 20 with financial literacy makes different decisions with his first real income than the man who arrives without it. The decisions made with first real income compound for decades. Financial literacy before 20 costs one afternoon to acquire and changes the quality of every financial decision made for the rest of the life. The fifth thing, the experience of being genuinely bad at something and continuing anyway, not failing once and recovering, sustained incompetence in a skill or discipline held through the uncomfortable intermediate stage where the gap between current ability and desired ability is widest and most visible. Man who has never stayed inside that gap until it closed does not know what he is capable of. The man who has stayed inside it, who has sat with the specific discomfort of visible incompetence and continued past it, carries direct knowledge of what the other side of that discomfort produces. Wayne did not arrive at the Cape with natural mastery. He arrived with the documented experience of being a beginner and staying a beginner until the staying produced something else. The sixth thing, one honest relationship, not a large social circle. One person with whom complete honesty is practiced rather than performed. A person in whose presence the gap between who you are performing and who you actually are is allowed to close. The man who arrives at 20 without this relationship arrives without a mirror, without the specific relational mechanism that reveals the blind spots that self-examination alone cannot access. It does not require a therapist or a mentor or a formally significant relationship. It requires one person. Trusted enough, honest enough, present enough, that the conversation that happens in their company is the real one, rather than the curated one. You came into this expecting either validation, a list you have largely completed and can feel good about, or a verdict on what the years before today failed to produce. This list is a map, not a score. The items present by 20 are the foundation that the 20s are built on. The items absent by 20 are the items the 20s must build alongside everything else those years will ask for, which makes the building harder but does not make it unavailable. The man reading this at 17 has the list in time to build everything on it before 20. The man reading this at 23 has the list with the understanding of what is currently missing and why the missing items are producing specific friction in specific areas of the current life. Both readings are useful. Neither is a verdict. The map exists to be used, not to be assessed against. Tonight, one honest assessment. Not a performance of self-awareness. An honest one. Which of the 6 things is most absent from what has been built so far? Not the most impressive to add. The most structurally significant gap. If the physical relationship is absent, tomorrow morning is the first session, 10 minutes. Something that requires something from the body. Before the day asks anything else. If the self-trust track record is absent, tonight is the first kept promise. The smallest possible commitment. Completable before sleep. Completed before sleep. Wayne did not arrive at the foundation building years with a plan for what each year would produce. He arrived with the decision that the years were for building, and the specific items that emerged from that decision, built daily in the invisible years, or what the visible years later ran on. The same sequence, the same availability, the same foundation, built daily in the years when nobody is watching closely enough to see it being constructed. What is built before 20 does not make the 20s easy. It makes them possible, the specific kind of possible that comes from having a foundation rather than beginning the decades on bare ground. Build the foundation. The decades are coming regardless. One gap, named tonight. One first action, tomorrow. The foundation is built in the daily actions that feel too small to matter and are not. They were never too small. They were always the thing. Start the thing tonight. One question. Which of the 6 things, name it, not the number, the actual thing, is the one most absent from what you have built so far? Drop it in the comments. The naming is not the building, but the naming is what makes the building start. Drop it. Then go build it. If this named the foundation more precisely than anything else has, subscribe. More of this. The decades are coming. Build the foundation first.